All right, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're heading over to Jamaica.
Yeah, we're trying something pretty interesting over there.
We've got articles piled up here from places like the Jamaica Information Service, the Gleaner, and even the Jamaica Observer.
All about this new program they're calling get this, the reverse income tax credit.
Catchy, right? But what does it actually mean? We're going to unpack all of it today.
It's kind of a big deal. Instead of just, deductions or credits, Jamaica is talking about literally giving money back to certain taxpayers.
Well, we're talking direct payments, like
Yep.
straight into their bank accounts. Those who qualify could be looking at an extra 20,000 Jamaican dollars.
That's over $100 US. But before we get lost in the details, can you give us the breakdown? What is this reverse income tax credit?
Basically, the government's decided to take some of the pressure off those who are hit hardest by, well, everything getting more expensive.
It's like saying, hey, we see you struggling with rising costs. This is a way to help, like right now.
So instead of waiting for people to, really hit a wall, it's about getting ahead of the problem.
Exactly. Giving folks some breathing room, especially with inflation being a global pain right now.
Makes sense. But from what I've read, Jamaica's being pretty specific about who this applies to, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not for every taxpayer. They're focusing on those who are already feeling the pinch the most, people with lower incomes, folks earning less than 3 million Jamaican dollars each year.
So roughly under US $17,000.
Right. But here's the thing. They also have to already be contributing to the system through those, whatchamacallit, statutory deductions.
Statutory deductions for the rest of us.
Think of the contributions people make through their paychecks. Stuff like funding for education, national housing, those important social programs.
So you got to be already in the system pulling your weight to get this credit.
Exactly. It's a way of supporting those who are already doing their part.
And to make it even clearer, we're talking about essential workers here, the backbone of the workforce.
Yeah. Grant program workers, folks who operate machinery, cooks, security guards, even waiters, janitors, you name it.
Jobs that often don't pay a ton, but are crucial for, well, everything.
And this credit could be huge for them.
We're talking about a lot of people potentially.
One of the articles mentioned something like 580,000 taxpayers who could be eligible. It's not a small program.
That's a serious chunk of the population. Okay, so let's say someone's listening right now thinking, hey, I might qualify for this. What do they need to do?
Luckily, Jamaica's gone digital. Everything's online.
So no waiting in line or dealing with mountains of paperwork?
Nope. Just head over to the Tax Administration Jamaica's website and you're good to go.
Sounds easy enough.
It is. But heads up, the deadline to apply is December 2nd.
Coming up fast. Don't wait till the last minute, folks. What kind of info do you need to have ready?
The basics: your TRN, that's your tax registration number, an email address, a phone number so they can get in touch, and of course, your bank account info. Gotta know where to send that money.
Makes sense. And this is for anyone working, right? Whether you're employed by a company or self-employed.
Yep. But everyone needs to have filed their 2023 tax returns. No getting around that.
Got to follow the rules. So any early feedback on how it's going?
As of a few days ago, they'd already received over 1,300 applications.
Wow. That's a lot, but it sounds like they're ready to handle it.
They seem pretty confident about their online system. And, it's not just about the tech. It's really about getting this money directly to those who need it most.
Exactly. Speaking of which, let's talk about what this could actually mean for those individuals.
Yeah.
What's the potential impact of this 20,000 Jamaican dollar boost?
Now we're getting to the good stuff.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. We're talking about, a real economic boost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this money doesn't just disappear.
Exactly. Think of it like this. You drop a pebble in a pond and these ripples spread out, right? Well, imagine almost 580,000 pebbles.
Wow, that's a lot of ripples.
And each one represents a Jamaican who suddenly has an extra, $20,000. That's got to make a difference.
If it were me, my first thought would be groceries,
Yeah.
honestly. Or maybe catching up on those bills that are always hanging over your head.
Right. It's those everyday expenses that really add up. But here's where it gets interesting that money gets spent.
At local stores, markets, supporting local businesses.
Exactly. So it's a direct injection into the Jamaican economy.
More demand, ideally leading to businesses growing, maybe even creating new jobs down the line.
It's that ripple effect in action.
I like it. But I got to imagine there are some potential downsides, things Jamaica's got to watch out for.
Yeah.
No program's perfect, right?
Oh, for sure. One thing that comes to mind is, well, how do you keep something like this going? Can Jamaica afford these payments every year if things get tough?
It's a big commitment. especially with the economy. Who knows what'll happen down the road?
Yeah.
What else should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, I was thinking, is J $20,000 really enough to make a difference in the long run? We're talking about inflation, cost of living, all that.
It's a Band-Aid, maybe, but is it enough? Could it be more than a one-time thing?
Right. Could this become like a permanent part of how Jamaica supports its people? I guess we'll see.
Adds to the intrigue, doesn't it? This whole thing is like a giant social policy experiment unfolding in real time. It's exciting.
Totally. And it's not just Jamaica paying attention. Other countries are facing these same problems. Inflation, shaky economies trying to support their people.
So Jamaica's kind of leading the way, right? Trying this direct cash payment thing, focusing on lower income workers.
Yeah. It's a model other countries might try, for sure. Although, what works in one place doesn't always work somewhere else, right?
Totally. Different countries, different problems.
Different systems in place. What flies in Jamaica might not even get off the ground elsewhere.
So while this is super interesting to unpack and analyze, it's all theoretical until we see how it actually plays out on the ground.
Exactly. Still, there's a lot to learn from what Jamaica's trying here. This reverse income tax credit is a case study waiting to happen.
And it's a good reminder that sometimes the most effective solutions are the ones that directly help people, you know?
Oh, 100%. Focus on the people, see what happens.
But you know what this whole conversation has me thinking?
Like, what if we were the ones designing a program like this? Where would we even start? Ooh, that's a good one. It's like we've got all this info about Jamaica's program, all the ins and outs, but could it translate somewhere else?
Exactly. What would we need to think about?
Well, first things first, you got to know what you're dealing with, right? Jamaica's trying to tackle inflation, but that might not be the biggest issue somewhere else.
So, step one, really understand the economic landscape. Are people struggling with job losses? Housing costs? Something totally different.
Totally. And then who you're trying to help, that's huge.
Right, because Jamaica's focused on lower-income workers who already pay taxes. Is that the right group everywhere?
Maybe, maybe not. Could be families barely making ends meet. Could be young people struggling to find jobs. Lots of different ways to go.
And then there's the big one. Can you actually afford it? Not just for a year or two, but long-term.
That's the million-dollar question. Got to run the numbers, think about the years ahead. It's a big commitment.
And what about those, like, unexpected consequences? The stuff you don't see coming until it's already happening?
Oh, for sure. Like, will this actually discourage people from trying to earn more? Will it create a whole bunch of bureaucracy?
So many things to consider. It makes you realize how complicated this stuff really is.
It is complex. But that's the thing about economic policy. It's not always clear-cut.
There's no magic solution, unfortunately. But hey, at least we're thinking about it.
Exactly. And that's what matters. Asking the tough questions, having these conversations, that's how we start to figure things out.
Couldn't have said it better myself, and that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive, giving you the info you need to form your own conclusions. So, the next time you see a headline about some new program, don't just scroll on by. Dive in, ask some questions, and remember, there's always more to the story. Until next time.